anything that the president would have done differently? Does he believe he has made any mistakes in this region?
Oh my goodness, that's, no, it's a silly question. Yeah, it is. Certainly. Because
you just talked about, you gave.
Well, let me ask you, to give me some characterization of what you might think, because what typically happens is that any answer to that question is spun into president made mistakes, regrets. What you do as president of the United States, and I have said this repeatedly from this podium, and you need to give presidents the benefit of the doubt when national security is involved, is the very best in their judgment of what they can do. Now, what will happen is over time you find out, that data point wasn't right. We need to adjust. So for every adjustment, sure, in perfect hindsight, you would want perfect information and therefore perfect policy. But instead, what you do have in this administration and in prior administrations is a full-on effort to do what you think, based on the intelligence and the facts available to you, is going to be the most effective way to secure the safety of the American people.
The notion that that's a silly question, when you have a president who draws a red line 3 years ago and says, we will not tolerate nuclear weapons, and now you have a country that just tested a nuclear weapon, you don't think it's fair to ask for some accountability as to what happened and whether there were mistakes made?
David, the accountability lies in North Korea, not in Washington.
That's it. There's no accountability for when this country engages in diplomatic activity or warfare. It doesn't have anything to do. There's no accountability within this government.
This government is held accountable all the time. As a matter of fact, the president even gets held accountable when gas prices fall beyond his ability to influence.
It was silly to ask whether lessons were learned.
Thank you. No. It was silly to say, does he think he made mistakes in his, that kind of thing.
That's a silly notion, a silly question.
I think what it is a gratuitous question in the sense that when it is asked, it is not asked in the context of, what are your strategic considerations? What is brought to bear? Instead, it is asked, and maybe I'm being unfair, Cheryl, in the context of a gotcha question that is designed to paper over the immense difficulties that are involved in the activities of dozens and dozens of people who devote their lives to trying to get this right.
You assume that motive in the question.
Let me put it this way: when it has been reported, it has come out that way. Now, if you have, let me put it this way, and I think you're right. Sorry to have cast doubt on the question. So let's if you can come up with precise things. For instance, do you think it would have been better to do X than Y? Again, it's second guessing. But what I want you to do when you ask a question like that is to have the presumption that a president of the United States, when weighing the security of the American public, is going to do everything in his or her power to make sure that the American people are safe, and will be demanding everything of those who work for him to work toward that goal, because that's what presidents do.
Doesn't mean they don't make mistakes, Tony.
That is absolutely, we all make mistakes,
Right.
David. Go ahead, Cheryl.
Does the president wish, perhaps, that he had engaged North Korea more directly early at the outset of his administration? And does he wish that he had pushed for the six-party talks and this kind of diplomacy more quickly?
I don't know. We're the ones who pushed for the six-party talks. I mean, I think what you're saying is you came up with a good innovation. Do you wish you would have done it more quickly? I don't know. But the fact is, I think what you might want to think about is studying what had happened, because when you come in as a new administration, you do take a look at what the prior administration had done. You try to assess successes or failures. It's quite often, for instance, you'll find presidents who have critiques on the campaign trail come in and say, oh, wait, that did make sense. So you do take a look at what is going on, and you try to figure out whether it's working. Now, what happened is, I believe am I correct, Fred, 2002, when did we discover the uranium enrichment? All right. It became clear that there was uranium enrichment going on, and we said to ourselves, we need to come up with a better way of doing this, and a one-party solution, which we have tried, obviously is not the cure. So therefore, we think it's important to pull it together. So, Cheryl, I don't know if you want to try to engage on should he have come up with it first. The point is, he did come up with it, and that is an important step forward, and now you're starting to see it leading to much more assertive and unified diplomacy on the issue.
Research notes that during the Bush administration, Democrats have voted against missile defense 9 times, while Chairman Millman notes it is simply not credible that the same Democrats who've opposed missile defense for decades have, in the month before the election, discovered North Korea's long-range missile capability. And my question, Does the president have any disagreement with these statements?
Can you read that again? It's ping ponging around there. I know. I need to hear the whole question. Go ahead.
You want to
Well, Chairman Millman
Yeah.
notes it is simply not credible that the same Democrats who have opposed missile defense for decades have, in the month before the election, discovered North Korea's long-range missile capability. And my question, does the president have any disagreement with these statements?
Well, the president knows that all of these matters are going to play a role when people are debating who they want to vote for, whether they're voting for or against the president or for or against Republican candidates. Go ahead.
What was the president's reaction to the George Soros funded Citizens for Ethics and Responsibility filing a Freedom of Information action demanding information about Christian leaders who visit the White House?
You will be deeply disappointed to know, Lester, that he is not following that.
One last, since there was 12 on the front row from one person, just one last one.
They tended to be on the same topic.
I
Lester.
understand. The New York
We're starting
Times.
Question with subparts.
That's exactly.
Tony, the New York Times quoted Chris Wallace as saying that you, Tony, left television because you were interested in becoming a radio star. Is this true or inaccurate?
True or
What Wallace said. Chris Wallace.
My goodness, I was interested in being a star in all the media, but I found something much better.
4 weeks away from the election, even before the Foley mess, before North Korea, there was broad speculation that Republicans would lose control of the House and perhaps the Senate.
There was also broad speculation that they wouldn't. So now that we've got through the broad speculations.
But a lot of that seems to be, a lot of the public's angst seems to be based on the situation in Iraq, the troubles in Iraq. Does the president accept that idea that Iraq may be what is the drag on the Republicans?
Let me put it this way. We're perfectly happy to have national security be front and center in this election. Period. No. We'll gaggle the rest out here on this side.
This morning, Congressman Mob Ney pled guilty in federal court to charges that took 9 minutes to read into the record.
Yeah.
When he resigns, he'll become the fourth Republican congressman to leave. Do Republicans in Washington have a problem with ethics?
No, but he ought to resign.
But is there something that the Republicans should do to perhaps better deal with problems within their own range, better self-policing of behavior?
I think it's important that everybody be police, Democrats or Republicans. If you got money in your freezer or skeletons in your closet, you better make sure that you're taking care of what's going on. I think it's incumbent on everybody to behave in a model way, and that's always our belief. We do not think that being a Republican. Let me put it this way: what Congressman Ney did is not a reflection of the Republican Party. It's a reflection of Congressman Ney, and he ought to step down. We saw that with Duke Cunningham. He took money. He stepped down. He should have. And when people break the law or bring discredit upon themselves and they bring credit upon themselves, they ought to do the appropriate things.